Welcome to episode 118 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to everybody who's been listening. Welcome on board to all the new listeners. You find this podcast anywhere you could listen to thing, and you will find it on YouTube as well. What's going on? All the week was everybody had a good week. This week was a little quiet in the should I say it was quiet in the news, or just one big story dominate the whole news cycle? And this is again why I'm glad we make the decision the other day to stay away from the heavy and political topics too early in the podcast and just deal with what it is I come here to deal with. Because the problem is, you see, the biggest story in the country right now, or what's going on today, is only lawyer involved. There's lawyer on this side and lawyer on that side, and two lawyers was supposed to go down and our next lawyer was supposed to carry them down, but the lawyer down here make them. You see them kind of thing. I just have problems and I don't want nothing to go nowhere when nobody say I have to come and answer questions for nothing I say. So I may or may not talk about that situation. Or there might be a situation I'll talk about that's similar to that, but it's all hypothetical. That has nothing to do with nothing. That's nothing to do with the price of rice. Well, ain't gonna put me no problems, no? Let me go back to the culture. Outside of that story is a real slow news week, right? So it gave me an opportunity that I don't typically have to revisit a couple of the stories we talked about last week. Now, I didn't expect, I put so much of thought and planning, all you wouldn't believe. Don't mind. People is always be telling me about if I come in on Wednesday or Tuesday, if it's a Wednesday podcast. Now, so much of planning and thought is we going into the topics that we discuss here and the angles that we're going to talk about and things, right? And sometimes I just see something in passing and I decide to talk about it, and that become the thing people discuss the most. The people throw away all my hard work and discuss that. And for some strange reason last week, that Travis World tweet, which I didn't know anybody care about that much, to be honest, but that seemed to be one of the bigger issues that people was talking about. And I want to taking this opportunity now that this news cycle is slow to clear up a little bit about what I had to say about Travis World. Because I deliberately not on either side of it. You know, as I said, I am older and I could do without a certain kind of music going on a certain road with a certain kind of language. But that is because my ear's sensitive. I'm saying that, and I'm also saying that youths should always push the boundary and show the way. And I happened to find a song, right? For all the people who was disagreeing on this last week, I happened to find a song that to me perfectly encapsulate what I was trying to say. So, let me play that song. Let me hear what that song is about.
I hear a song, I hear a cry.
Yes.
Some say it wrong, I can't see why. Cause all I know is when I hear it, it moves me so. I feel a spirit, and I hear Aristotle say, everything must change. So now it change, why they acting strange? Tell them take me calypso music to the mountain. I let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising.
What?
Shaking off that old time style, putting on a brand new smile. Rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation, reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick, because it is world news.
Calypso rising,
hit me with a rhythm,
fill my soul.
hit me with a rhythm,
Calypso rising,
hit me with a rhythm.
fill my soul.
This song was born in chains and tears, but it lives on through freedom, yes. No more a voice to please a massa.
No.
We can rejoice. We cross the river, and I hear Andre Daliman say colonialism reduces culture to folklore and picong. Not my Kaiso, take me calypso music to the mountain. I let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising, shaking off that old time style, putting on a brand new smile, rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation, reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick, because this is world news. Hit me with a rhythm, calypso rising,
to fill my soul.
hit me with a rhythm. Rhythm and blues, jazz and reggae, they pay their dues in the same way, yet every day they keep evolving.
Yes.
More and more ways to stay revolving. And I hear Atakosa say that true genius bears originality that opens up new frontiers. So tell them people, take the calypso music to the mountains, and let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising, shaking off that old time style, putting on a brand new smile, rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation, reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick, because this is world music. Hit me with a rhythm,
Calypso rising,
hit me with a rhythm,
to fill my soul. Hit me with a rhythm, to fill my soul. Hit me with a rhythm, to fill my soul. The voice of the great Gregory Ballantyne, GB. A producer, a producer, song, just like Travis, a producer and songwriter and all these things, you know what I mean? So this song encapsulates what I'm trying to say for the most part. It's two different things, right? Take the calypso music to the mountains. So I understand that part of it as well, where people say, well, it can't go in the mountain if you're trying to carry it in the gutter. All right, calm down. He also talking a lot about pushing the boundaries, carrying it to a different level, let it evolve, let it grow. I would say, I wonder if people remember that this is the same Travis World who makes Soca Kingdom. Soca Kingdom is a song that brings together three different generations in Super Blue, Marshall Montano, and Travis World and his squad. It's Travis World and somebody else was involved in it. I wish I could tell you, Prince Pronto, maybe. I hope I have that right. But the thing about it is the man already doing it and he already pushing the boundaries, so we can't put them to slaughter and be too judgmental about what they're saying, because these young people are the people who are going to make that calypso go to the mountain and go to the whole world. It must evolve. It must change. You know, when you have a little child, right? When you have a little child home by you, it's about like certain people who living in this house here. They just tell them what to do, what time to wake up. If they're talking too hard, they tell them. Everything is tell the child to do, right? And then eventually the child will go through a phase of rebellion where they're trying to find their own boundaries and find themselves and mark out their own identity, right? And it will eventually come a time where there's nothing more you could do for that child to tell. You could give guidance, but you can't tell them what to do again. And the thing about it is this, right? For every child, including you and me, to grow up and to be able to face this world on our own, you know what happened? Old people had to let go. Old people had to sit down and say, well, all right, they're going out, they go on the little party, you stay home and you say a prayer, say rosary, novena, whatever it is you do, you stay home and you say that until you hear the gate open, they come back and they say, oh God, thank God, they bring home my child safe. But for the world to evolve, old people must let go completely sometimes. We can't hold on to something and want it to last forever. For something to last forever, you have to let it go. You cannot, as according to Travis, you can't stifle the thing. You understand? And I have a little example here, right? I don't know if Travis will produce this song, but I hear a song this week, and I want to salute the great Nyla Blackman, who again is somebody who nobody could accuse Nyla of sullying the name of Calypso or carrying it in the wrong direction. I find with Nyla Blackman, the thing in good hands, good hands. And they're in full control of it. And she launched her album this week by the name of Technique. According, she was on Blaze and Nemo Drama Wednesday last week. If you want to see some little technique in your wine, check out Nyla TikTok. I mean, it's nice, you know what I mean? If you have a little spare time on your hands, check it out. But there are a few good, I mean, the album Bad, it have some songs on this album. I like albums, you know, because as a body of work, I think it tells you or it documents where the artist is in their own development and their own space in their mind. So when you go back and you look at the time, especially late 80s, early 90s, where soca artists and calypso artists would be bringing out an album every year, it's things that you could revisit. So when I go back and look at David Rudder Gilded Collection, where he could pull together songs, maybe over about a decade or so of songs, from hit songs from all his albums as a compilation. I like younger artists doing this too. I like artists doing it in general. Let me stop separating young from old. But I like artists doing that in general because it helps us document them. Same things with Marshall, right? So this Technique album, you have a song on this that I like a lot and I want to share with you. This is Nyla Blackman and Voice. This is what I'm talking about, taking calypso to the mountains. Hear this, right?
Nyla, I need you from Sour. Whoa, Lord.
My wine don't make anybody.
Yes.
Get wild and spend their money. Oh, you're lonely, our company. Me handle you carefully.
Yes.
You're rich, but you can't pay for it. You like when me sit down on it. On time, now you never did stick. Oh, think big, so you never got fit. Yeah, over. Me love how you perform for me like. Me love how you give it to me. Bad, bad, bad. Me love how you perform for me like.
Lord woman, this is love at first sight. Watch how me apply the pressure there. Bad woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. Cock up, baby, right on top of me. Lord woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. Swear, baby, die the energy. Bad woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. Oh woman, I'm loving everything that you are. Man, I get this, but I swear, woman, you have my heart. I know you know it's my nappy. But you have me weak in my knees again. So weak, so weak. You don't know what you're doing to me, Nyla. What you're doing to me.
Lover. Me love how you perform for me like. Me love how you give it to me. Bad, bad, bad. Me love how you perform for me like.
Lord woman, this is love at first sight. Watch how me apply the pressure there. Bad woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. Cock up, baby, right on top of me. Lord woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. I swear, baby, die the energy. Bad woman, me say wine now, wine now, wine now. Oh woman, Lord. Come give me the love in Nyla, so me look up me tell her what.
Baby, anytime you feel for it, make this our youth man deal with it.
Good loving with some extra steam in it. Balcony, me no care who see it.
No long talk with a big long steel in it.
Baby girl, say that thing too sweet. Watch how you are, boy, see love off. Man, just love off.
No signing and I don't want log off.
Watch spend everything, but I know you well off, well off.
Baby, you the bomb and I just wanna get you, jump, jump, jump. I just wanna get you, jump, jump, jump. I just wanna get you, jump, jump, jump. I just wanna get you, jump, jump, jump.
So if this is the song they're talking about that being more explicit, because this song have a little more edge on it than a lot of calypso or soca songs, but I don't find nothing wrong with this song at all. That's not typically what you would hear in a calypso, but again, it's pushing the boundary slightly. I doubt any of us could be a better judge. I said last week, let the youths and them make the thing and let the market be the judge. The market will always be the ultimate judge. People will love what they love because the same people who don't like, I don't want to say the cussing calypso and the calypso is not that kind of music. And the same people, I see them same people making noise when Trinidad Killer had sing a certain song about a certain weapon going in certain orifices and so on. And those same people, when you go line by them or you go a little party in them house and thing, and the gas will start to drink and the night start to fall, all of a sudden I say, 9 o'clock in the morning, I'm trying to raise my family. Gunman in the hole. It's the same thing. Like, they're like, so I try to understand, like, when we get so pious. And all of us, and again, I'm saying it with the people, because my reaction on my social media, for instance, the main reaction was that people find it shouldn't go there and enough is enough and they don't think and it's unnecessary in Calypso and they're not clever because they're not doing double entendre. But tell me what's wrong with that song with Nyla and voice. It's not a double entendre, it's pretty plain to me. But the song bad, that song, that I tell you all the time, when I hear a song, I feel like I hear a song when it's a hit, and that song is a hit song. That song gonna be around for a long time. The name of the song is Panorama, right? The name of the album is Technique. So you had to trust the man who bring together Marshall and Super Blue on some youth man. Them time he must now come out of school when they make that rhythm. I sure the youth man from who went presentation. I want to say it's Prince Pronto, and I hope I do that wrong. But I'm sure he was now out to A levels or something. So when the men would come together and create Soca Kingdom, so you had to trust them. And you know the thing about trust is a funny thing. You know, I learned this in a management course. They say you must delegate and follow up, right? Because I was bad at that. At first, I didn't used to delegate nothing at all. I used to try and do everything myself, and then of course nothing getting done. And then I went to delegate and I just let everybody do everything, and I just relax. And of course, then things not getting done either. But when you delegate and you follow up, and you know what I mean, you set some milestones, some checkpoints, and so do that with them too. Delegate it, let it go, and let them do it. And if they're going too far, then we could tell them, all right, this is going too far. But as a young producer, a young legend, and a young businessman, he also know that the market will be the judge, you know. So me and think he's studying we and all this talk about his tweet, you know. He tweet that and he move on with his life. I talk about this 2 weeks now. I see problem here. But I want to understand that he understand the market will be the judge too. If he make a song and it gone too far and nobody don't like this song, he go come next year with a different song with a different kind of vibe. But once the market's holding on to it, and I'm saying that the Trinidad and Tobago market is holding on to songs that seem to be a little more edgy, pushing the boundary a little more. I could go further to say the regional or the world market is the same, because while we have some people who complaining about Kaiso and Soca and mustn't be explicit, let me just say these people, we also listen to explicit songs in other genres all the time. So I going back to the example of DJ Khaled and God, DJ Khaled, Rick Ross, Lil Wayne, Friday, and Jay-Z. The song explicit like hell. It's a no hiding. They're talking about drugs. You know what I mean? There's several stories being told in them songs. And nobody in holding back no lyrics. All of we who are Spotify and Apple Music and all them things. All of us who have Netflix and see everything that as raw could be in these different forms of media. But I also understand the idea of sensitive ears. And I think we must respect that we must respect the fact that our ears sensitive. So we may not be the best judge of what tomorrow will bring in any genre of music. You remember how people used to complain about mumble rap and they think amigos. These artists who they was complaining about as mumble rappers turned out to be the biggest rappers in the world, outselling plenty of the rappers that we had loved so dearly. You had to let it go. And handing it to Travis and them, I think, is the right move. But we must also delegate and trust. And a part of trust is this, right? Trust is not give it to them. And when they make one bad and they go on too far, and they like you said, they went on too much explicit or they're just completely obscene and nobody don't like it. Trust is not saying, you see, I tell all you should never. That is just being old. Trust is also saying, all right, Ole went too far, let me see what Ole come with again. We had to hand over the reins to people. It's the same exact thing we complain about in all other spheres of life in Trinidad and Tobago. Because coincidentally, I see NIS and them raise the age to 65, retirement age to 65, right? That happened last week or week before, something like that, or in the budget or whenever it was. A part of the issue that we're fighting is the age of the population, right? The situation is that with a smaller working class paying contributions, it's harder for them as more and more people retire. So picture a Christmas tree, right? A Christmas tree is the ideal way a society could develop, because then you have a Christmas tree of age, right? Like a triangle. So the oldest people at the top in terms of population size. I'm doing a terrible job at explaining this, but picture a triangle, right? And the space in the triangle represents how much people within that age group. The pinnacle of the triangle is between 60 and 100 years old, or 60 until, what do you say, expiry? And then you have a next middle of the triangle there, which is bigger, of course, as you come down. And that is between the ages of, let me say, 19 and 59. And then you have a base of a triangle, which is a lot of little children, right, who under 18, who are dependents. So picture again, that base, everybody under 18 is dependents. Everybody at the base of the triangle and everybody at the top of the triangle is dependents. That tends to work well because we make money and we take care of our children, the ones who are under 19. And where the older people concerned who have worked and contributed in a society, they are now entitled to their NIS and their old age pension or whatsoever the things might be, either from private or public sector, where they get their grants, right? They contribute to earn that. The issue we're facing as a society now is we Christmas tree upside down. Because everybody, people who do well and study and succeed and thing only make one child. Well, I shouldn't talk about that. Only, you make one child. At that time when people was making 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 children, now everybody are 1 and 2. To find a family with more than 3 children is an anomaly these days. A young family that is. So where find started to happen is that middle of the triangle that's supposed to be the nice fat part, that started to get small. And then as people get older, you have a burden on that small group of people who's still working, because it's the working people between the ages of 19 and 59 who will still make contributions towards the national insurance scheme, and everybody will collect the pension and thing. I feel like I do a terrible job explaining that, but I hope it makes some kind of sense, you know what I mean? But this is the issue we have. When I saw the age change from 60 to 65, the reason that age is changing is because we cannot afford for people to retire at 60 anymore. So we have to move the age to 65 so we could get 5 more years of contribution. 5 more years is 60 more months of contributions, so that we hopefully could delay the age when people start to receive the pensions, as well as extend the amount of years that people have to pay into the fund, so that the fund have a possibility to take care of the people when they retire. The first thing I see when I see that, I thought that for the first thing people would say was, oh God, I had to work an extra 5 years to get my thing. I wanted to. You know what was the first or the most frequent comment I was seeing? More ways for old people to stay and work and young people can't get opportunity again. That was the most frequent comment I was seeing. And that's surprising to me, but that's what people had to say at the time. So we can't complain about that in the public sector or in the normal corporate and working world. And do this or expect that the same thing will be done in the world of entertainment. These might sound funny, but these youths and them have the answer. Now, sliding over to Jamaica, right? Related, right? Stay with me. The issue in Jamaica is related. I saw a release last week from, let me just make sure I have all my ducks in a row here, right? The Broadcasting Commission in Jamaica. Saying Broadcasting Commission issues directive on songs promoting illegal activity. The Broadcasting Commission has issued a directive requiring broadcasters to take immediate steps to prevent the transmission of any recorded material that promotes and or glorifies illegal activity. Guided by and exercising the powers granted under the Television and Sound Broadcasting Regulations, the Commission now requires an immediate halt to the transmission of, here what is stopping, right? Any audio or video recording, live song, speech. Let me just repeat for you. Any audio or video recording, live song, or speech which promotes and or glorifies scamming, illegal use of or abuse of drugs. Example, Molly. I know why they pick up Molly. Illegal or harmful use of guns or other offensive weapons, jungle justice, or any other form of illegal or criminal activity. Any edited song which is directly or indirectly any edited song which directly or indirectly promotes scamming, illegal drugs, illegal or harmful use of guns or other offensive weapons, jungle justice, or any form of illegal or criminal activity. This includes live editing and original edits by producer or label interested, as well as the use of near-sounding words as substitutes for offensive lyrics. This is terrible. I can't even get through this before telling you how bad this is. This is a terrible idea. Who's in Jamaica Broadcasting Commission? How they come up with this? This is a horrible idea. So while I say hand over the reins to the youth and give them license, give them creative license, Jamaica Broadcasting Commission seems to have gone in the next way. Many years ago, I can't remember if I was in Jamaica still when this happened, but they had banned editing out of obscenities and expletives from songs on the airwaves, right? So if you remember, when we were younger, the radio station, I suppose, just used to make little edits. This is in Trinidad here, right? The radio station used to make little edits if they say bad words in a song, right? So if they say a cuss word, you just used to hear it either they reverse the word or they scratch it out and they make it sound nice as part of the song, right? It sound like a cool effect on a song. All of us know what it was saying. So I don't know why people feel taking that out would be useful. And I guess you can listen to it in front of your children, I suppose. But these children so bright, them know everything, you know. This day and age of children, I doubt you could help. It's almost impossible to shelter them completely. I almost do the opposite. Should I say this here? I almost do the opposite. I just try and explain to him where everything is, because I understand that while my son is about 9 or so now, and I have a lot of control over where he goes, what he does, everywhere he go, he had to go with me or the mother. There will be a time when he exposed. Even now at home here, you know, you had to go and let him play in the park, you'll be exposed. Not everybody raising the children the same way. I sure I'm doing a terrible job, and other parents might be doing a better job than me, but it mightn't be great. So I try and not shelter him too much. I try to just explain things to him and tell him, listen, this ain't right, this is what it is, this is what it's saying, you know what I mean? But when they used to scratch out and edit all these things out of songs, it's still that kind of vibe, right? And I remember when Jamaica had passed this, and what the artists started doing is instead of, they would do an explicit version of the song, and then they would do a radio version of the song. So they would actually change the lyrics in a line so that it could be played on the airwaves. Now, as a lover of dancehall, I didn't like this move at all, you know, because number one, I want to hear the explicit version since I'm small, since before I was supposed to be listening to it, right? But I personally, I don't know how you feel about this, and maybe there's a point of discussion too. You see, when a song have expletives and thing, I want to hear the cussing version. I don't like to hear the edited version and thing, you know. The one with the cussing and thing, badder to me. Because that is what the artist really trying to express. It's the same thing as taking a paint in the artist do and blocking out piece because it's a nudity. Now, I want to see what the man expressed, what the woman wanted to say. I saw Tanya Stevens coincidentally on Instagram this week promoting a song from The Angel, I believe it was. And it was interesting to hear Tanya Stevens' talk just like how her songs is go. Tanya Stevens cussing. She a little out there, she on the edge, you know what I mean? But Tanya Stevens have a song that go, one more time. If you diss me one more time. You wake up in the morning, find me brushing your teeth with my big Tech 9. I don't want to hear that edited out. I want to hear her say that because that's bad. You understand? So I don't understand this, especially Jamaica. Jamaica music done on the edge. I could understand the societal issues, right? So scamming is an issue in Jamaica, illegal drugs, well, I guess Molly in particular, jungle justice. These things might be particular issues that they're dealing with in Trinidad, but I want to say in Jamaica, sorry. But my little bit of knowledge of Jamaica is that they would be dealing with all these issues long before dancehall music gets explicit or obscene or anything like that. This is a real bad idea. I can't believe that this is a real thing I read in here. I don't know what they think it's going to stop from a societal standpoint, if this is going to help curb illegal use of abuse of illegal drugs or scamming or anything like that. I'm really surprised at this, and I'm reading this real time, and I'm surprised that this is actually a decision they're taking. And, you know, my little bit of experience in Jamaica is something that I don't like at all. Jamaica have a way, the authorities in Jamaica have a way of treating dancehall as if it's a reflection of all the ills of society. While I know for us in Trinidad here, we revere some of these dancehall stars. Look, one night you could have Skeng and Movado selling out one show and Beanie Man and Dexter Dapp selling out the next show. We've always held on to dancehall. Sometimes the argument here is that we put dancehall before our own music, you know what I mean? But I find while I was in Jamaica that it is not the same. The way dancehall is seen, it's almost like dancehall is seen as a a ghetto thing, a not welcome thing, a ill of society. One of the ways that one of the things that is degradation of society when you're talking about dancehall in Jamaica among certain circles. I was a little bit surprised to see that when I went there because I expected that dancehall is one of your national treasures that would be at the forefront of everything that you do, and these men would be national heroes, and maybe they feel a little bit more about that way about reggae or music that is quote unquote clean and godly and so on. But it's not the same with dancehall. If you look at when dancehall, a dancehall act that would have stopped, or what was noise abatement act or something that had parties stopping at 2 o'clock, that would have pretty much kill off things we know like Passa Passa that would have gone until morning. And I'm not saying that some of these things might be going too far or need to be curbed in the communities that they're in. Yeah, older people might want to go and sleep. But there's a underlying disdain for dancehall and everything that goes along with it. When to me, dancehall is just an art that's telling a story about what actually happened in the country. So, as politicians, and I ain't isolating Jamaica in this case, as politicians, we tend to sometimes want to deflect from the societal ills by blaming everything else except the society itself. It's just a strange thing to me. And you know when it became worse for me in Jamaica, as a Trini, I could tell you this, right? When I saw Soca in Jamaica for the first time, and I saw Carnival, and when I told more in Jamaica in 2006, 7, 8, and 9, and I think I come back 2009, 2010, right? The Carnival that Jamaica have now is nothing compared to what it was back then. Back then, every Friday, they used to go to a place named Mass Camp, a big open venue in Kingston, and they would have different artists and bands come in and sing. Same venue every week is the same venue and a fete. And then I went to one fete I could tell you was good. I think they used to call it Beach Juve, I believe. I can't remember. And at that fete, if I remember right, Marshall might have been there. But the person who headlined it was Michel Xavier. Some artists couldn't come, and Michel Xavier ended up being the headliner for the. And I think to myself, well, all right, Michel Xavier, you know, I mean, no knock on Michel Xavier, all due respect, but she would not be the biggest soca artist here in a big event like that. But listen, she rocked that show, and that fete was great. And even back then, I was thinking, okay, we think we have a carnival product here, but when you go on that North Coast in Jamaica for carnival, and you have dozens, if not hundreds, of all-inclusive resorts and even smaller motels, Airbnbs, places to stay that are nice, some of them all-inclusive, so you're not worried about nothing when you go back to the hotel and thing. If we feel we're competing with a tourism product that they have, I think we're wrong. But anyway, I digress. When I saw the way people accept soca music, right? So dancehall dancing was seen as lewd and indecent, and dressing in dancehall because a batty rider and thing comes out, you know what I mean, see-through dress and whatever it might be. Those things were seen as, again, scorned by upper society in Jamaica. While I go in a Juve party where it is the norm for people to be scantily clad in a Juve party. We know that here. It's the same over there. And that seemed to be real accepted, which was weird to me. And it showed me, it teach me something in life, because we in Trinidad here complaining about the fact that dancehall on the radio and it's taking over the youths, and all the youths on dancehall, and they don't appreciate what we have. While in Jamaica, to me, is the same. Not so much old versus young, but more so uptown versus man on the street. So the man on the street have dancehall, and the man on the street doing the exact same things with dancehall, and can't get a license. I don't know when dancehall could have get a license to come down Trafalgar Road with no truck. I don't know if that, not when I was there. I don't think that would have ever happened. When I was there, the big Passa Passa was already done. But they used to have dance like Bembe Thursdays and things. I used to go that used to be bad every week. You're hearing brand new songs every week coming out. And I don't know that if the men who was throwing Bembe Thursdays say they wanted to do a Bembe street parade coming down Trafalgar Road or coming through New Kingston, I do not know if those men would have get a license to do that. But Carnival is allowed to do that, and women, you know what women looking like for Carnival, and man too, my pants short like hell, me I want nothing for Carnival, no, but that seemed to be accepted by mainstream Jamaica or uptown Jamaica in a way that dancehall is not accepted. And this to me seems very similar to that. Like you're banning everything that dancehall is do. Dancehall are gunman lyrics, that lewd and expletive lyrics, that lyrics about drugs, that lyrics about scammers. You just decide that you're gonna ban all of it. I guess I remember going to the people reading, and they say the directive reinforces the Commission's commitment to keeping the airwaves free of harmful content, given the important role traditional media still plays as agents of socialization. The use of the public airwaves to broadcast songs that promote, glorify illegal activity could give the wrong impression, and that criminality is an accepted feature. This is a terrible idea. Will they do this with stage shows too? Is the intention to then move to say, because if the music is part of what's shaping the society as they're suggesting here, then the airwaves is not the only place that could shape the society. I mean, it could shape the society by all streaming platforms. Is the plan to go forward to say that any streaming platform, you have to eliminate those songs if you want to operate in Jamaica, or if you want people to be able to subscribe to you in Jamaica? Are you going as far to say that when big shows come up, like Sting, or for instance, or your big shows, you remember they used to have ATI weekend, I wonder if you still have that. Are you going to say that now DJs cannot play that? Because in your words here, Broadcasting Commission, traditional media still plays an important role as an agent of socialization. So does the DJ play a role as an agent of socialization in our party? Does the selector play that same role? Does the artist play a role when they're on stage or doing dances and things in community? Are you going to stop all that too? I don't know, boy. This sometimes we had to get real with ourselves. You know? We had to intervene and fix the real ills in society. Society, no doubt. You don't want to live in a society where illegal drugs is a problem and scamming is a problem. You don't want to live in a society where violence is an issue. But it's not going to be solved by saying, nobody don't talk about it no more. Stop, just don't mention it. Just play like it don't exist. And you know what I mean? It come like when I was a little child long time and they tell me hide. I didn't know how to hide good, right? You see, hide and seek was a difficult game for me because I had a perception that if I can't see you, you can't see me. So when they say hide and seek, you know the person used to turn around and count and thing, they count to 10 and thing. When them counted, I just used to go somewhere in plain sight and close my eye tight. You know when you close your eye tight until your body's shaking? And I think in my mind, nobody ain't gonna find me at all. I said they would never find me here. I close my eye tight. And that's what the Broadcast Commission of Jamaica doing here. Only decide that as a society, here we're going on. Just close we eye tight and cork we ears and don't say nothing. And all the crime and the scamming and all them things will go away. But I wish them best wishes. I hope they work out to that. So I here trying to advise Travis Will. And listen, you see that thing called global competitiveness. Jamaica better don't make that mistake and ban them thing from stage shows, you know, because all you will do is, all like me, so I want to promote a big show now like Sting in Trinidad here, and all the tourists that would go there for your show, let them come here and let me eat a food and make some money. That is going to be a bad idea. But we continue to monitor. That is something I definitely want to hear. I'll pay more attention over the course of the week to what the reaction was like in Jamaica about that. Now, as we talk in crime, right? Like we talk about these folks. It's a certain crime I ain't talking about, and it's just too heavy and I can't deal with it, honestly. I want to talk about the crime of the folks who want a little bit of a year ban. Just like how Jamaica banning some people. People in Trinidad getting banned too. $200,000 flap gate stolen. But they say Port of Spain at risk of major flooding. This is on the 12th of October, right? A flap gate valued at $200,000, which helps prevent serious flooding in Lower Port of Spain, has been stolen. This was revealed by Minister of Works and Transport Rohan Sinanan yesterday while visiting the Sealot Pump House at Abattoir Road, Port of Spain, where the flap gate was stolen. He said, "It is very heartbreaking because we just did a project from Hilton all the way down, changing all the flap gates. This project cost in excess of $2.2 million. So to come here and see this, and to recognize that if the water rises in this catchment here, in this river, it's going to be chaos for thousands of people in and out of Port of Spain, and even the people living in the area. So it was not too nice to come here and see this after hearing about this last night this morning." I feel Travis will need to write a song for Sinanan, because Sinanan really wants to cuss here, you know. He choose very good words. I'm going to give him a round of applause, you know what I mean? he wants to cuss, you know. I know he had it in him to just cuss with everybody, but he's diplomatic and all them things, you know what I mean? So he make it happen. He went on to say, "We have a flap gate that was stolen that cost us approximately 200,000 TT, which was part of the project recently completed between 2020 to 2021 fiscal year. And with that floodgate missing, what the now means is that floodwaters, once the St. Anne's River rises, it will back up all the way to Beetham Highway, Central Market, Piccadilly areas. Now, these are this again. I go say it, right? Should I say that it's scrap iron dealers again? I would assume that with everything happening with scrap iron dealers recently, it's pretty obvious, because I don't know what anybody else could do with a flap gate, a big slab of metal, basically to prevent water, or to slow down water flowing from one point to the next, or that you could lock off, or, you know what I mean, to manage catchment areas and manage the flow of water through the river. And these are the same people who protesting and blocking the road. And, you know, I heard one of the interviews, I can't remember if it was on CNC3 or somewhere, somebody was saying, well, they didn't just thief that, look how long that was stolen and everything. And I was like, well, so if you know when it was stolen, and so who steals it? Why is the Scrap Iron Dealers Association not calling police on a regular basis? All they said, all they so honest and forthright, and y'all are businessmen creating employment for people who may not be able to be easily employed, and y'all are such a contributor to society. Why it is all in calling police when these things happen? Why all of us had to suffer? It's the same thing was happening with the mobile networks the other day, the internet connection in people's house, landlines and phones all through the country. For your own personal gain and for you to get some US dollars, whatever happened, man, going to church, they can't have no church bell, artifacts, or they be part of the tapestry of a community or a society, or they go on with that to scrap down that to sell that for your own personal gain. And now is a flap gate that could cause more and more people to see hard times when flooding coming by them house, and you can't call none of these scrap iron dealers to come and help you clean your place when it's flooding. What? Hey, anyway, I get to talk about culture. Let me get on to cultural things, because some of these things is just too much for me. In the midst of talking all of this about youth versus us, I saw an article come up last week saying Aaron Duncan and the Mighty Sparrow coming together to collaborate on a song. So by right in this pod, I mean, it's only right that we had to play this song here. So let's take in Aaron Duncan and the Great Mighty Sparrow.
This is the supreme serenading calypso king of the world, the Mighty Sparrow.
Ole, ole, mama, ole. Ole, ole, mama, ole. I get a feel of the spirit, it down deep in my soul. I don't know how it hit me, but Lord, I knew that it would. It don't matter what we do. Hey, this music will always take over you.
Yes.
This is our legacy. This is our legacy. We do it legendary. Coming from you and me. This is our legacy. This is our legacy. We do it legendary. Who could do it better than me?
Is the rhythm that hit me? That make me come off my bed, shake off my feet, turn on the body.
Yes.
Me boy Aaron, to give them some calypso.
Ole, ole, mama, ole. Yes. Ole, ole, mama, ole.
We not giving up now. Just put me in front of crowd. So come back again with me boy Eddie.
Create a legacy. Let me go now. This is our legacy. This is our legacy. We do it legendary. Coming from you and me. This is our legacy. This is our legacy. We do it legendary. Who could do it better than me?
Let's let the people know that the Mighty Sparrow is alive and kicking with my boy AD. Oh, come on.
strong the bird voice song in after the man the other day and thing. So the man baptized and thing, right? Remember that we talked about that. He went and baptized and thing. Salute the great mighty Sparrow. Salute to Aaron Duncan for putting this together too. Something we always love to see. You know what I mean? But the man clearly singing his Soca still. I had some questions, you know, as to whether Soca will continue and if he will continue coming out with song. But the man said put him in front of stage, he ready. He said he think make him shake his leg and come out he better. I like it. Man voice singing strong and good. Nice little thing they put together. Always good to see that. And I was thinking about putting together a little bit of a playlist for this episode of times when legacy artists would collaborate with youths. I will do it next time, you know, because it's a very, very long list and it's much more common than we would usually think. And I'm promising all of this too. One of these days, I will put together a list of songs where I could play the today's version of it in our era versus the version that would have been the original song. So the one I always refer to is like, there are a few examples. Brooklyn Woman and the voice from this year. How the voices go, bring the vibes. You know what I mean? That old Kitchener song. I remember Swappy with Baron. Feeling it versus feeling it, you know what I mean? Two different versions of it, and I find that men treat it nice. It have a few that not treated so nice too, you know, because a fellow named TC sing a song from Tambu. It wasn't very well. They didn't treat it nice, but it's nice to hear when they take some of these songs and they put their own treatment on it, and it's legendary in both instances. So that song Brooklyn Woman will never die, and that song Mashup, whoever this voice sing that is forever, because that and all we didn't really get to fet to that last year the way we'd have fet, you know. So I can't imagine what Carnival going to look like with that song in Carnival 2023. Now I see a story this week. I'll let it follow Express on Facebook, because if I could put this in the video in YouTube, I will. I ain't making no promises, but for the people audio all there, just stick with me for a little while, In the heart of High Street, Port of Spain, where it's called the Busy Corner. No, that's Busy Corner, it's in Chaguanas. Where it's called the Library Corner. Up on the top of High Street. This is a street I turn in every day to drop my son to school, right? I see a video circulating on Facebook last week with some fellas. Wrastling. You remember when they used to say wrestling? When it had WWE? Let me see how old it is. I remember Victor Javica and Carlitos Colon. And Invader number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All you remember them fellas? And Abdullah the Butcher. When man used to take fork and they dig up a man whole forehead with a fork. Or what you used to watch? WWF or WWE? When it had Randy Macho Man Savage and Hulk Hogan. And what it's called? Bret Hart and Owen Hart. all the wrestling looking. Over the Undertaker. All the wrestling days looking. I remember wrestling. Well, apparently some people was doing some wrestling in South, and they have an event coming up for the wrestling. So they decide to use Library Corner for a promotion to actually do some real live wrestling. And this is I am not making none of this up. This is real thing. Man is on the streets of High Street or in the Library Corner, busy in the middle of the hot Sunday, wrestling to promote the wrestling. Right. So let me read from the Express. There was a promotional stint at Library Corners, San Fernando at 3 p.m. on Friday. This is the time I had to go and pick up my son, These man wrestling. Where some wrestlers put on a demonstration for the public. But apparently the wrestlers didn't inform the police that, listen, we have a little promotion going on because we have a wrestling thing coming up. And, you know, we want to make people aware of it. Good little promotion, because if you see people stop to watch this little bout going on in the street, in the road, not all ring, you know. You know, they was talking about Swappy and them boxing the other day. them spread a carpet is on the government road, them and doing their wrestling. But apparently nobody told the police. So somebody see the man getting licks in the street, and I want you to know that this is the wrestling that they was doing was closer to the Caribbean Wrestling Federation than the WWE. Because men getting hard aluminum pan to head. A man have a piece of sticky swinging and hitting him. It's on the ground they falling. The rope, you know, when back in the day, they used to throw a man against a rope and swing him out, and they come and throw him up. It had no rope. It had normal police barrier. That's the rope. You know what I mean? Man selling the little goods, the little vegetables and thing. All that is weapon in the wrestling. But somebody see this and get frightened and call the police. And listen, the police come ready to arrest everybody. While the police come in walking down the road, a man now hitting a man a piece of 2x4. And the police, if you see the police looking for handcuffs to put him down. But let me read it again so the people get a proper promotion. There was promotional stand at Library Corner in San Fernando at 3 p.m. on Friday where some wrestlers put on a demonstration for the public. However, someone called the cops thinking someone was actually being beaten up. Express photojournalist Trevor Watson captured what happened next. Professional wrestling promoters will host a 2-day Caribbean Cup extravaganza by All Caribbean Wrestling titled Battle Kingdom Resurrection at the Pleasantville Indoor Sporting Arena on October 22nd and 23rd. What's the situation? We in that or are we going up in the wrestling? How do you feel about the wrestling? What are you going in that? Promoter Akil Samuel stated that in the 1970s and 80s, Trinidad and Tobago had a history of wrestling which featured the likes of Abdullah the Butcher, Carlitos. Is Carlos Colon or Carlitos Colon? Ray Golden. Why this thing is moving? I try to read, boy. Ray Golden Apollon. I always hear this name, but I never know him. He was before my time. Victor Javika Gamma Singh and Thunderbolt Williams, just to name a few. We are here in the city of San Fernando to promote what is pro wrestling. We are here to bring you the new generation of wrestlers, Samuel said during the launch of the event at San Fernando on City Hall on Wednesday. Admission for the event will be priced at $175. Samuel, if you charge me $175 to come down, you better have a rail ring and no set of police barrier again. All right, admission will be $175, $230 for ringside, and $600 for VIP. Well, you better bring back Thunderbolt Williams if you're charging $600. People better come back out. Tickets can be purchased online, but people seeking VIP tickets, they're available at C3. Now, the thing about this, right, is I don't know about you as a child, right? I used to watch wrestling religiously. I couldn't wait for whatever day. I think it used to be Sunday evening wrestling coming on and them thing. I don't miss that. And I'm back in my fighter and them kind of thing. I used to follow them thing though. Both Caribbean and the WWE. But WWE, it was worse. You remember when they used to have Royal Rumble? And I forget the name of some of the big events they used to have. And there was one where I don't know if you remember a big cage match they used to have where all the wrestlers now come in the cage. And if you fall out the cage, you're out. And you know, Jerry the King Lawler, and by the time I watching wrestling, Jerry the King Lawler was commentating. He was the man talking about it, and Undertaker climb on top of the rope, then somebody kick him over. Once your foot touch the ground on the outside, you're out. And they had the whole wrestling federation in that cage. I don't know if people will remember how bad this was. And I remember back in them times, my mother and them telling me, boy, that fake, you're watching this stupidness all the time. It always had somebody home who wanted to tell you, you're studying this wrestling fake. And the reality is that I didn't care. I don't know if Ollie had care, but I didn't care. And well, of course, these fellas on the street in San Fernando, this is as fake as it gets because when I watched the pan he hitting them with, I thought it was one of them bacon pan, like a bacon sheet. It's one of them little foil thing when you're baking thing home, but you do usually bake. When you get $10 for $1, or how much ever they sell that for, and you bake that mashing up, that little muffin pan he hitting men with something. But even if it's fake, it's entertaining. I remember being in Guyana, I talking about 3-4 years ago, not very long ago. And they had I can't remember. It's not Royal Rumble. I forget what they call it thing. SmackDown. Some big wrestling event they had, and they had a little bar name. It's number 19 or 51. No, 519 is here. My memory is terrible. 514, whatever 14 it was. They had the place sell out. Everybody in the bar watching wrestling and them thing. And it happened to be the last time Undertaker was fighting and he was leaving the thing. Remember Undertaker had a brother too named Kane. All my wrestling days coming back. But the thing about it is, I didn't care if it was fake. It didn't matter to me that this whole thing was staged. And it made me wonder in San Fernando there, because if you have all them police barrier put up, then the police must have known this. So one way to make this thing real good, because that's what Vince McMahon and them was known for, for how great promoters were. And it make me wonder, Samuel so bright that Samuel put two wrestlers to wrestle in the middle there. And then make sure that people know where it is and make no announcement of nothing. So somebody get frightened and call police. And then the police, or maybe nobody call police. And he set it up. Well, hey, what are you going to do? All they go running and all they go come like thing. And people will say, no, it's wrestling. They're just playing, you know what I mean? And that then will become a story, because if these men, or the little skill I see there of them wrestling on the road, I don't know that it will be going viral and become a big story like this. But I want to say well played to Samuel. Samuel is one of the greatest promoters that have. The little 175 Samuel it had, and the 600, and the I don't know if you see the gas price, but you know what I mean. You might want to ease me up on that, because I mean it's really that. All right, that's okay. But the reality is that for me, I don't care if wrestling was fake or not. I just wanted to be entertained. I like the little. I remember I just had a little woman wrestling too. Remember that? You know, woman wrestling. Now all them things was nice. I watching that regardless of what happened. Somebody win. You remember they used to do counter 3. And then when the referee hand now gonna go down, man foot come up, or you put your foot on your rope, and it's the most ridiculous thing. But it was very entertaining, regardless of if we know it's fake or not. And I think it's the same for this big story we have in Trinidad and Tobago this week. I may say not about nobody, I may call no name because I don't want no problems. But sometimes when I watching the government in this country, and when I say government, I mean both the party in power and the opposition, those folks who make up our cabinet, it makes me wonder if it's not wrestling I watching. This had to be WWE or WWF or whatever it is. This cannot be for real. It cannot be that every single party who come in power, one of the main things they campaign on is the rest. The first was wicked and they was corrupt and they thief and we're going to lock up all of them. Every one of them to the letter. They say we're going to lock up all of them. You know what I mean? And then when you see, you come in and one of the first things you come in, you say, somebody dead to rights. They corrupt and they wicked and they this and that. And next one now get arrested the other day. You know? But you have 2 men that are dead to rights. You have them. And the reason you have them is because you claim to have a witness who, under the cover of immunity, I watch enough CSI, I watch Narcos, I watch Goodfellas. So I know what it is to man to make a deal. If you sing and you talk to the police, remember Palomari from Narcos? Palomari was the accountant for the Cali cartel. Palomari sell out everybody. Palomari come in court with a pointer, telling you what it is happening, breaking down everything to everybody. Remember Goodfellas? My boy in Goodfellas pointing men out. He say, yes, he's the one. He's and men singing for the supper, men singing to make sure that they get a lighter sentence or able to walk free. And apparently we have a situation like that where men get caught dead to rights because you have a witness who is granted immunity to be able to, you know what I mean? So I could come and talk without any consequences or with little consequences, and this will this will allow us to sink the men here, and we'd have achieved our goal because we make sure that, as we said, we making sure and lock them up because they're wicked and they're thief and they're corrupt and they're this and that, and we have them now. And while you have these men dead to rights, somebody on your side or some people on your side break a immunity deal, allegedly. And allegedly thing talking about in plane, almost like if it's a fairy tale I watching out where a man bouncing up in the plane and he say, hey, you's not the man we say we think we go talk and just, hey, we're going on to the point where this man could now sue the government. Listen, I don't want to say too much about this now, but I just want to say it remind me of Wrastling and Samuel and Vince McMahon and these fellas, because it make me start to wonder, wait, am I one of them people by Library Corner who think I watching a real fight and is wrestling I watching? Am I one of them people? Is it that always set this whole thing up where always say, all right, here was the scene. When we get back, so you go think and we go get all that, we go charge all it, right? But don't worry, you ain't gonna get locked up, you know what I mean? You'll be home and thing with your family. Just get low for a little while, right? Let the rest of the party make dinner. You just get low for a little while. You stay low. Because we have a boy up there. He say he go get some information about all it. But don't worry, we could never let that information come out, because I go see him on a plane and I go say, hey, you see my the information? And when I do that, he go fall down. And then all this really clear. And here what happen to now? Hopefully, he go sue we, because all of your lawyer take it in, all of your lawyer, you know what I mean? And then I could come take it and so I started to wonder, if am I watching a script? Is this a play? Is this wrestling we're watching here where all parties, whether you're on the side of Undertaker or you're on the side of Hulk Hogan, regardless of which side you on, only playing for the same team. Only playing for the same team. It's impossible now. Outside of Basdeo Pandey and Danraj Singh, maybe the only two who ever get locked up. Pandey for a couple of nights, Danraj Singh for a little while, rest in peace. You know what I mean? But I do believe that I'm watching real things at this point in time. I think this thing designed where, it's like two people who need one another so much that we just here to protect one another because we don't want nobody else come in this mix and make it harder for we to do what we do. You know what I mean? And so I'm coming in the mix. I heard Gary Griffith and the NTA talking this morning. Or Gary Griffith talking about the NTA this morning on Slam. And Gary was on all. Gary was on 100. You know what I mean? Gary, I don't know. Gary is amped up. That check that fella. There's only so much Red Bull he could drink before you're crashing. I don't know how he's be so high. Well, Gary is just fit and strong. Let's have him so energetic. But Gary come there with some talking points this morning. Gary basically come and say that he remember Keith Rowley saying that he need at least 10 Gary Griffith. Or he was saying, if I had 10 Gary Griffith, this country would have run right. And he also said that he had the Attorney General amend the laws to make sure that Gary Griffith could act because apparently he said that Rowlers said he can't do without Gary Griffith. I can't afford to lose Gary Griffith. And then subsequently come and say, the biggest mistake I ever make in my life was Gary Griffith. You know what I mean? I don't know. Gary Griffith also continuously quotes these crime stats about violent crimes and murders being down during his tenure, without coming out and say that a big part of my tenure was marked by a global pandemic where there were several instances within which people were completely locked down. Like, you can't come out and them kind of thing, that was a big part of when you were there. But all right, okay, the stats is the stats, right? And if the crime was low under his tenure, maybe I would have talked about that too, you know what I mean? It was low under me, but I think anybody could see through that. What we would want to see is what your track record would be in normal times so that we compare apples with apples. You can't just say Stephen Williams do this and McDonald Jacob do this because they operate in some different times. But okay, that is what it is. So apparently Gary, as he forges forward with the forming of the National Transformation Alliance, he's also back on the shortlist for Commissioner of Police. Reading from the Express, this is from Anna Ramdas. Former Police Commissioner Gary Griffith is officially back in the race for Top Cop. The Police Service Commission, headed by Justice Judith Jones, has completed its shortlist in its hunt for Trinidad and Tobago's new police commissioner. The Express learned that Griffith, Deputy Commissioner of Police Erla Christopher, Lieutenant Colonel Sheldon Ramnanan, a former legal officer of the Defense Force, and ACP Andre Norton are among 16 on the shortlist. Griffith said yesterday he hopes that this time around, external elements inclusive of politicians drink their water and mind their business. Why is Gary have to be like this? Why does he have to be like this? He said, I think at this time, it may be inappropriate for me to comment. Whatever correspondence submitted to me by the Police Service Commission, I would deem as confidential until it is leaked. Which has been the case during the tenure of the last Police Service Commissioner or Chairman, Bliss Sipasat. In other words, he'd just say, at this time, it may be inappropriate for me to comment, and then he went on to comment. But right. He continued, what I can say is that whoever is shortlisted and whatever the result, it is hoped that external elements, inclusive of politicians, will drink their water and mind their business and not interfere with the process as we saw during the last meritless fiasco. He said because of such interference in the last year, from August 2021 to August 2022, Trinidad and Tobago has seen its highest spike in crime, the highest number of murders, and the greatest fear of citizens being victims of crime in the country's history. Let the independent body do their work and select who they deem as being the best person to lead the TTPS and serve the country to turn this around. Now, a few things here, right? Gary said in that interview today that he scored higher than anybody by miles. I think he said he scored 80-something, and the closest person to him was in his early 70s. And that's how he got the job the first time, and that was without any experience as commissioner. And then by the time he had the experience, when he scored again, it would have been in the 90s. So he said, and it makes sense, his reasoning makes sense, that if he goes back there and he do the test and the screening, he's likely to score higher than anybody else who they have there because he have more experience than them. He clearly brought something to the table before he was a police officer or before he was in the police force at all. And he learned a lot and got up to speed very quickly where he could get to the 90s and the closest person is then in the 80s. So it's doubtful that anybody will outscore him. No knock on Ella Christopher or any of the other 15 applicants, but he probably is going to do best in the test. Now, the test is not the only thing, right? But I think it's critical that a body that is appointing a police commissioner always act independently. I also feel like if the Prime Minister feels something is afoot, he should be able to... So the Prime Minister have an issue with the FUL thing, right? Let me say that is his issue. He should also have an avenue by which he, as a citizen of the country, could make a complaint. But it should be the same avenue that everybody else have. So you lodge your complaint, we acknowledge that you are the Prime Minister and you have an issue with the current commissioner. But again, I think it's so much politicking that is be playing because what men trying to do is manage their image. So when the commissioner coming out and say things about the Prime Minister, what the Prime Minister worried about more than what is actually happening, the crime in the country seems to be what his image is. And how does what he does interfere with my political currency? Political currency for what? I don't know. If you're not going to run for Prime Minister again or you don't want to be Prime Minister no more, when this thing done, you're retiring, or is it that you feel it's affecting what's the image of your party? I don't know. And then Gary Griffith himself is a man who he just don't do the job, boy. I don't know. he might be designed for wrestling too because he like a little bravado and a little big talk, and I don't know that I prefer a lot of things about the way Gary Griffith operates given the environment that we in. And again, I don't know enough to be able to assess one commissioner of police from the next. All I could talk about is optics. And again, I always talk about the idea of boots on the ground. I think it makes a big difference when you have a police presence. And I'll say a couple things under Gary Griffith. The presence of the commissioner itself was higher under Gary Griffith than I've ever seen, especially when it came to big crimes, right? When I say big crimes, I'm talking about crimes that make big headlines. Now, one might take that to say that is a part of his own hassling for political currency and face time and so on, so that you're seen, because he obviously has political ambitions. So it would be in his best interest to show up everywhere a big crime happening, just to make sure that he's seen, he's seen and he's there and he's seen as doing something. Even he's always on the scene. You had to give him ratings for that. That is whether something happened to a policeman, something happened to a regular citizen. Once there's a big issue, he's going to be there. If it's big traffic, Gary the directing traffic in his short pants and thing is what he does. I do feel like there's a lot of merit in that given the circumstances, because I think he's right. I, as a citizen I feel more fear now than I've ever felt before living in Trinidad and Tobago. Maybe again, as I get old and I get frightened, but this place not nice. This place is not nice. You're talking about a young child getting shot to death. This is not far from where I live in Africa, growing in Enterprise. We're not far from there. And when I think about my son leaving home to go and play little sport and play game and thing, what kind of society we living in? Broad daylight, anybody getting shot anywhere. Man, robbery. Little child getting shot when men trying to rob a Pennywise cash van. And the presence of the commissioners of police seems to be still a little bit in the background. That makes me uneasy. I will say as well that the police presence for general policemen when Gary was there seemed to be higher. Using a lot of the word like seem and thing, right? I had no measurement to prove this. But I'm telling you, my sense was that there were a lot more policemen on the road and that kind of thing when Gary was there. And I don't understand why that is not the case now. There might be good reason, right? But I'll say, if crime is high, there's so little that a police commissioner or any police could do about the crime situation in Trinidad. The crime situation started before the police get involved. And we have societal things to fix to get crime under control. But certainly if crime is having a spike, murder happening all over the place, broad daylight, Charlotte Street, it don't matter where it is. I would think that any commissioner at this point in time might be focused on making sure that there's a police presence visible all over the country, all at least in the major cities, so that we have a greater sense of safety and reduce the sense of fear within Trinidad and Tobago. But I don't know, and it's not. I don't know. I'm not there. I'll say that in San Fernando when I drop my son to school. Thank God, you see a lot of police from the time you come off the highway to the time you reach your school. You see police around. You know what I mean? But I think they're mostly managing the traffic situation. But that presence makes a difference because at least we in a society still where it seems as though if police are wrong, man go wait. Even if they see somebody there, the police they boy. Like we go wait till tomorrow. I like that. Wait till tomorrow. And then don't let tomorrow come at all because every time you see him, our police are wrong. You know, let's see all the enemies and things. Call you waiting to see all the enemies in a big public place where bricks and thing where people go in and just take the little edge off or you know what I mean, relax a little bit. Can't be right. So those are, and I also find that the attitude of policemen was starting to change when Gary was there. Now, again, that might be work that was done long before. But when I say the attitude, I'm talking about how they talking to people and the way they behave and the way they approach. Because one of the things with Trinidad police I don't like is I don't like to be around them. I don't like when I talk to everybody like this. But talk to me nice. You know what I mean? Talk to me nice. I don't do nothing wrong. You know what I mean? Talk to me, treat me sweet. You know what I mean? Approach me nice with manners and all them nice things. You know what I mean? Don't bark at everybody you meet. And I saw that starting to change under Gary. So that is, with all those things say that Gary's the best man for the job, against the background of the fact that they seem to have some issues with the FUL process and thing, which again, I always keep saying that those things were there long before Gary was there, but okay. Gary seems to think, however, that there's no chance, a snowball have a better chance in hell, was his words, of him getting selected because he said they're not going to put him back there. Blaze tried to ask the question many times, if you are selected as police commissioner, will you give up the leadership of the NTA? He's kind of say yes in passing, but his main point was that will never happen. You don't have to worry about that. He there for the NTA and so on. And again, there's a little bit of wrestling for me too, because he seemed to not want to say that because he don't want to spoil the chances of the NTA. But I don't understand why you would be political leader. There's nothing against being a political leader if you're applying for a police commissioner. I suppose you could do both. I didn't see nothing wrong with that. But it does not give the greatest confidence to the would-be electorate if the leader of the party applying for work otherwise. Because it's the police commissioner, it's sounding good, right? It sounds like a big post anyway. But imagine somebody who was leading one of the political parties here. Imagine you here, Kamala Prasad Bisesa had some application in by Ansa Makal to be the legal counsel. You'll be like, what? Then it's better to step aside immediately. While you're applying for the work, leave so we could run the party. But so I think he's stopping short of saying, yes, he will give up the leadership of the NTA because he don't want to spoil the little political currency and all the work they've done to build up to where they've gotten up to this point. But again, one to watch because he's looking at a full slate of candidates both for local government election and general election. And he said they went through the screening process, so they're going to start to announce now all the different party positions, as well as he said they had more than 400 applicants, serious applicants. And some of them already being selected for running for different constituencies or in local government. So, I mean, Gary, it's a tale of two Garys. It's a tale of two Garys. It's a man who hard to keep up with because one minute he cool and talking about Manchester United and all them things, and next minute he back behind Rolly. And I just can't understand why he just don't say calm. You don't have to say much. You don't have to say a whole lot. You don't have to take jabs at people every opportunity you get. You could just be cool. You have a lot of support. Plenty people, at least if I judge on social media, plenty people seem to think Gary's a better option for police commissioner. Sometimes you could just let that do the talking for years, and sometimes just talk less and do the thing. On the topic of talk less, there's a guy who we need to see talk a little less these days. What else I had to talk about here, boy? Manchester, Man City lost to Liverpool. Liverpool men get voice again. West Indies lost. All right, all them things are sideline. They have a man who needs to talk a little less these days. There's a fellow by the name of Kanye West. Boy, I don't know if people following this. I had this as something to talk about for the longest while, and I just leave it alone because it's a difficult topic for me personally, But listen, Kanye West is going hard at his at almost everybody at this point in time. One of the things that stirred up the big controversy recently was him going to, I think it was Paris Fashion Week, in a White Lives Matter jersey. Of course, all the BLM people get vexed and thing, and they say, well, yes, the BLM organization has a misuse, but Black Lives Matter as a movement has done a lot to change. I would admit that too. Black Lives Matter as a movement has done a lot to change, at least the perception of how black people will be treated globally by not just police, but by authorities as a whole, and it's done a lot for at least the point of awareness and recognition. I don't know if we're seeing real change yet in terms of the way black people are treated or behave or anything like that, but at least it brought, during the COVID times, it brought the discussion to the forefront, which is a good place to start, right? So, I mean, individual changes take a long time, so global change going to take a long time too. It's not simple. But Kanye seemed to be pushing the boundary, and he the last straw now seems to be him going on Drink Champs, a podcast that I like a lot by Noriega and stuff. And so a podcast that I take a page from in the way I want to approach what I want to do where our local artists are concerned. Because what Noriega is doing, Noriega, of course, is a rapper. And what you get from Drink Champs is a lot of background stories, rapper to rapper then. It's not like journalists. So they come there, they drink heavy. And they talk, and Nori's get them loose. Nori's not a very good interviewer. He doesn't finish his thoughts. He doesn't finish his sentence. He sounds like me. He doesn't. He asks a question, and then he does not give people time to respond. And I mean, with all that, the things is be entertaining, is be funny, and is be entertaining. And then as time passed, this is about 6 years now he doing it. But as time passed, he started getting a little stronger in the way he asks questions and deal with issues, but the interviews start to become more and more meaningful, I guess, in the culture over there, and I take in a lot of them too. Once I like who on it, I take it. But surprisingly, after I saw him on Tucker Carlson's show, where Tucker Carlson said that he edited out a lot of anti-Semitic parts in what Kanye had said with his interview with him. You never know what's true with them fellas sometimes. But then he went on LeBron's show, a barbershop show. And I didn't even know he went on the show. But announcement was made saying, listen, the episode of Kanye on the shop will not be aired. That men come out and say they're not airing it. They record the whole thing and they do it. And I guess the statements and the rhetoric of what he's saying against Black Lives Matter and what he's saying against Jews and so on, then they weren't here for it. They didn't make a big explanation initially, but they eventually said some of these statements he made was too far out, and they decided they're not airing it as a brand, right? But Nori decided that Kanye was coming on. No, Kanye West was on Noriega's show earlier this year, maybe a couple months ago. It was good. It was good. Listening to Kanye, this is the thing with me, right? I like greatness. So any opportunity I get to witness greatness, I just hold on to it tight. And it's hard to argue with the fact that Kanye West is one of the greatest of all time. I'm talking about in rapping, in fashion, even in activism in some ways, you know what I mean? With some of the things he has done. I believe that I read somewhere once that Kanye had come out and said that he deals with bipolar disorder and he's on medication. And I have a little bit of experience with that, not myself, but being around somebody who would have been diagnosed as bipolar and had to deal with medication and stuff, right? And this is why it is a difficult thing for me to talk about, because the person I talk about who dealt with that is a very, very good friend of mine. I talk about a friend, one of the first people I know as a friend, and we've been friends all through our school years and things. So when I see the way he behaves and the way he talks, it looks a lot like he's having an episode to me. A lot of times. Sometimes his sentence is not going anywhere. Sometimes he's rambling. And the thing about it, I'll tell you this, right? It's very, very difficult for you to identify that. You have to take my word for it, because you're sitting talking to somebody who is, as far as you're concerned, as normal and lucid as it could get. And you're just talking like how always talk every single day. But some of the things they're saying just not adding up. And they're a little more on edge than they usually are, or a little more amped. You know what I mean? It's just very, very hard to describe. And I'm not talking about somebody who, in Trinidad we use bad language. We say person tripping off, and I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about somebody who's just slightly more on edge, and just some things they say not adding up. And I'm telling you that when them things happen in real time, and that person's saying things, all you can say is, "Dread, what you talking about? You're full of what nonsense you're talking." And then the conversation goes back to normal. And listen, it is hard to detect and manage. And I talk about as an onlooker, so I cannot imagine what it is like for the person actually having a bipolar disorder episode. It's unimaginable. And because I was following what was going on all the time, started by a statement he said, because if people could go back to the days when he was on Sway, and Sway was trying to tell him, why you don't start your own factory, why you studying all these white people and all them kind of thing, and he's like, how Sway? And that was a whole big issue with, you don't have the answers. And he came out and said, yeah, well, Sway did have the answers because he followed Adidas and Gap pretty much in the same time in spectacular fashion just about a month ago or 2 months ago. So I was real surprised when I see Kanye going on Nori's show. It's like, my first question was why? But again, the interview that he had last time was really, really good. He still, you could see him talking about people, and he says some things that would make prominent people in hip hop feel uncomfortable, right? But it was a good interview all the while. But I don't know if it was the best idea for Nori to have Kanye back on that show, largely because Nori came out and apologized on the Breakfast Club and on Ebro and them in the morning, and he did an apology round, right, to say that he should not talk about it and he should have pushed back a little more, because Kanye was basically there saying that George Floyd fentanyl killed him, and the knee wasn't on the fella's neck like that, was what he said. It wasn't really on his neck like that. But he's rambling. It looks so familiar to me. It's hard for me to describe. When I hear him talk, it takes me back to a place where I first realized something wrong with my friend. And I didn't know what to do. I handled it poorly. The way I handled it was to distance myself from him. I just didn't want to be around him because I didn't know I didn't know that medication, he could be okay. I remember being around him too, and I was frightened. Like, I don't know what to do. I don't want to be too close. I don't want to talk for too long because you never know with him. And when I see these things now, I wonder, like I hear Nori in his apology talking about giving everybody a voice and how everybody have something to say about Kanye, but Kanye has always been so great to him, and he wanted to return the favor because all the other outlets shutting him out, but he wanted a chance to say what he had to say. Because I saw, I don't know if you remember Kanye West avoiding paparazzi to the point where he walked into a sign one time, and I find it so strange last week that I see TMZ asking him a question and he come back out a car to answer them. When the man asks him some nonsense, he asks him, and that's the only question. This is not somebody who fully and evenly keeled at this point, at this moment. You know what I mean? And I don't know, I got diagnosed nobody now, but maybe it's a function of not taking the medication at the time. They say that when you're on the medication for these things, it dulls your senses and your sharpness and your creativity. Again, I saw that for myself. I see somebody who's one of the greatest athletes I know growing up. He could play cricket, basketball, football, anything you want to play, he's the best. He's just that dude. And I see him when he was on medication on a football field and could not believe how bad he played. But I could not believe how bad he was looking. He was just not the person I know. So when I understand okay, he have an album coming out, so he have designing to do for sure, I understand why he might say, all right, I need to come off of the medication. I can't get as creative as I want to get. In this thing, man, now going through a divorce, you're under high pressure situations. When you're dealing with bipolar disorder, pretty much any mental health issue. I remember a therapist telling me one time, she say, don't get too hungry, don't get too tired, don't get too lonely. You know what I mean? She was trying to say, manage your stress, do things. Another therapist I was talking to was telling me, listen, you have plenty different stressful situations going on. You're dealing with a lot of different things at the same time. You have to find ways to release every week. You should say, all right, you're playing golf, you're going on the beach, you have a date night, you have what are the things you're doing to get away? Because she say you default into work. She say every time you have a lot of stressful things, she say you finding something else stressful to take on. You're doing a podcast now, and she helped me through that whole transition, so I feel it for him, and I feel it for Nori too, because I like Nori platform. I don't think Nori is a real journalist. I think a lot of the things that being spoken about going over Nori head, I don't. They probably take it down from YouTube by now, right? But one of the best moments in that whole interview was when Kanye West says something about Chinese, and Nori say, "Wait, Chinese niggas are part of this too?" It's like, what's it? Nori lost in the sauce, you know what I mean? And I guess you're trying to help a friend, but boy, listen. Sometimes when you have to help a friend, is to not give them a platform or not give them a voice. And the way to help Kanye in that situation would be to just tell him, no, now is not the time for you to be talking to the public. The time for you to get low. You know what I mean? Treat it like wrestling, like all these people, politicians treating the place like wrestling here. But it's sad to see, and Nori come out and apologize and take down the interview today. And now I hear it because a lot of what Kanye was talking about on that podcast was his relationship with Candace Owen, and Candace Owen tell him this, and when you see Candace Owen, show him a documentary, and Candace Owen, and if you know about Candace Owen, you know that she's not she's not revered among the pro-black in the States, you know what I mean? The people who are hardcore Republicans might see her as an honest person and forthright, or what I like to call one of the good ones, but certainly the movement don't seem to be too fond of Candace Owen and her utterances. And it looks even worse now when Kanye announced, just before I started recording, I see he talking about buying ownership stake in Parler. Parler is a social media platform. Along with his statement that they can't deplatform you if you own the platform. Or they can't ban you, or they can't cancel you if you own the space. Only to find out when you look at Parler, one of the biggest founders or investors in Parler is Candace Owen's husband. And boy, listen, you have to protect people like Kanye. You know, Kanye is a man could take, just like Travis Will, could take the culture further, could do so much, and has done so much. I shouldn't say could, has done so much. But boy, listen, if the man dealing with mental issues, sometimes you have to let him deal with the mental issues. There's a lot of pressure on him, plenty things going on around the place, and the last thing you want to do is put a mic in front of the person. You know, I can't imagine going through what I went through with my friend. And what I want to do now is when I see him have that episode, publicize it and say, all right, everybody come and look at this. You know what I mean? It would probably be the worst possible thing that he could do. But anyway, that was heavy enough, right? Jazz Festival returns to Tobago. I know it's a transition out of that. No. Jazz Festival returns to Tobago. Sorry. I saw Tobago Jazz Festival announcing their return, and I just wanted to mark this. They say it's on for April 2023. So I was wondering about this when they did the Burna Boy, because it seemed like Tobago Jazz Festival would be an ideal opportunity to bring Burna Boy there as part of that, rather than bring him as part of Carnival. I understand Burna Boy and Marshall had a show in Miami Carnival, which might not... Maybe it didn't start off that way. Apparently, Burna Boy was supposed to have a show and Marshall was supposed to have a show. And somehow the two promoters or the promoter merged the two shows. And it might not have been the greatest experience because, of course, the place was jam-packed because you have Carnival people who come there to see Marshall, Carnival people who glad to see Burna Boy and would cause even more tickets to sell. And then just regular people who want to see Burna Boy because he's white hot. He's the greatest artist in the world right now, the biggest according to DJ Khaled. And this was the point I was making about Burna Boy being in Tobago Carnival. We don't have the capacity, we don't have the flights, we don't have the hotels. It's like, to me, it's a lost opportunity. So they haven't announced anything yet. They haven't announced anything yet in terms of what artists will be there. So I'm eager to see what that looks like. They said last time they had people like Tony Braxton and Michael Bolton. So it'll be interesting to see who they bring to headline it. But I'm glad that the Tobago Jazz Festival is back on. I was a little worried that they're trying to merge the Jazz Festival thing with the Tobago Carnival, but that doesn't seem to be the case. I see Tobago Carnival and I'll back and I'll to become people vex and saying Tobago apparently, the people who are responsible for Tobago Carnival apparently met with the people who in charge of Grenada Carnival. For some, not guidance, but to help them, because they say the Grenada Carnival experience is more of what they're trying to create than the Trinidad Carnival experience. I didn't find nothing wrong with that. Now find the best in the world, find what you want to get, and let them help you and modernize the thing. You know what I mean? It's one Caribbean. Yes, I know why we be so bothered and fight these kind of things. No, let them go and get the help they need over there, and get the thing done and make the thing top class. So we're looking forward to hearing more about Tobago Jazz Festival. And as I say, West Indies lost. Boy, listen, West Indies lost to Scotland. Scotland. Boy, listen. Phil Simmons, coach of the West Indies cricket team, slammed the unprofessional batting display of his squad on Monday after they suffered a 42-run defeat to Scotland in the team's ICC T20 World Cup in the first round Group B contest. So, we done put ourselves under pressure already. We lost to Scotland. It was embarrassing. Our partner, Ray Mongrel, I think he in England, and talking more embarrassing it was when he had to wake up and be getting him talk over about West Indies can't beat Scotland. Especially because England and Scotland don't know like one another already. So that would make it a laughing stock anyway. So I hope the men continue. I hope the men, well, like I say continue now. I hope all they get all themselves together. Who's the captain? Puran still? Phil Simmons say the batting was, I want to find his exact words in it. He said unprofessional batting. And I don't know if Phil Simmons and all, I don't know if he now wake up or something, but I've been finding like the batting unprofessional. Yes, the man is just there's no organized approach or sense in West Indies. Why am I back in West Indies cricket? Let me find a song to play and go my way, because this is how West Indies is always do it and suck me back into this thing. And I don't want no part of it. As we start this episode with GB, as is customary, play GB for you before we go down. Yes.
Many years ago when steel band was just forming, hold your ears whenever you hear a band coming. When them rude boys come down, come to make noise in town. Was brute force and all iron meat. Now you heard me something sweet. The ramage, like a hummingbird in suspension. Ramage, they're floating on steel band rhythm. It's a soca ramage. When you hear a silver green touchdown, sweetly, downtown, crazy, ramage, explosion in pan. Different from in the old time days. It's only Pantuna have the right to hammer. When Tuna finish doing his thing, just touch let the old drum sing. And ramage, like a hummingbird in suspension. Ramage, you're floating on steel band rhythm. It's a soca ramage. When you hear a silver green touchdown, sweetly, downtown, crazy, ramage, explosion in pan. Classical,
Yes.
music is a complex idiom. Magical, brings out the best in we steel drum. Different textures present from different instruments. But pan just like an artist rush, captures every heave and hush. And ramage, like a hummingbird in suspension. Ramage, you're floating on steel band rhythm. It's a soca ramage. When you hear a silver green touchdown, sweetly, downtown, crazy.
Here now. Is that right if I play the song I start the episode with to leave the episode? Because I like it bad and I feel it's such a powerful song. I can't just play it once.
GB Gregory Ballantyne.
No, no,
hear a cry. Some say it wrong. I can't see why. Cause all I know is when I hear it, it moves me so. I feel a spirit. And I hear Aristotle say, everything must change. So now it changed. Why they acting strange? Tell them take me calypso music to the mountain. I let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising. Shaking up that old time style, putting on a brand new smile. Rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation. Reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick because it is world news. Hit me with a rhythm. Hit me with a rhythm. Hit me with a rhythm. This song was born in chains and tears, but it lives on through freedom, yes. No more a voice to please a massa. We can rejoice. We cross the river. And I hear Andre Daliman, the colonialism reduces culture to folklore and picong. Not my guy, so take me calypso music to the mountain. I let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising. Shaking up that old time style, putting on a brand new smile. Rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation. Reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick because it is world news. Hit me with a rhythm, calypso rising. Hit me with a rhythm. Rhythm and blues, jazz and reggae, they pay the dues in the same way, yet every day they keep evolving more and more ways to stay revolving. And I hear Atakosla say that true genius bears originality that opens up new frontiers. So tell them people, take me calypso music to the mountain. I let every drop of earth hear when I sing. Cause out of them backyards, calypso rising. Shaking up that old time style, putting on a brand new smile. Rising out of the ghetto of third world stagnation. Reaching out for tomorrow with a world vibration. My calypso heading for stardom real quick because it is world music. Hit me with a rhythm. Hit me with a rhythm. Calypso rising. Calypso rising. Calypso rising. Thank you.
Hey, I'll see you all in next week. I'll have a safe and productive week. Until next week. Bye.